our best records show that moose got to the island at around the turn of the century. Best timing, probably somewhere around 1904, 1905, somewhere in that general area. Over that time, the population has fluctuated very widely. While they were out on the island for roughly 60 years before they had a predator on the island, and so moose were out on the island for almost 6 decades, with the only predator being wolves, which had not arrived yet. So the current population is around 1,200. So the Michigan Tech University goes out and does all of our monitoring for us, and that is the best estimate that we have from last year's winter study. Moose have very significant effects on certain species of plant on the island. They are very herbaceous. They eat a lot of aquatic plants in the summertime. They also eat a lot of balsam fir in the winter. And so there's kind of specific plants that are affected. There are other plants that really are unaffected by moose browse. And the population has significantly increased in some years, and then has significantly declined in others. So wolves got to the island in around 1948, 1949, that winter. They are the only predator for moose. They are unusual in most of North America, especially the southern portion of North America, where wolves don't typically hunt such a large prey. Wolves more typically go after caribou and white-tailed deer. So the southern portion of the moose range, Isle Royale wolves are very effective at taking down moose. Again, their population has also fluctuated quite a bit. So when we have the initial colonization of Isle Royale, there was only a few individuals, which is where we're at now. And over the course of the last 60 odd years, the population has risen to a high of around 50, with an average of around 20, 22, somewhere in that general vicinity. It's hard to have a definitive answer because for the first 5 or 6 years, we really don't have a very good estimation of the exact number. So any number we have is going to be our best available data. The winter study, again, done by Michigan Tech University, is where we get a lot of our data for the wolf-moose study. And according to the last winter study, there were 3 wolves on the island, single male, a single female, and then another as yet undetermined individual. There has been genetic inbreeding on the island. This is fairly well known. There's a lot of bone malformations and other genetic markers that seem to indicate inbreeding. Incidentally, a lot of those bone malformations were on the island in the 1960s. And so a lot of the problems that we see in the wolves have been persistent in the population for many, many years. And then as far as the vegetation, which is intimately linked with this system, Isle Royale is on a kind of transition zone for vegetation. And so more to the north, in Canada, we get the Canadian Shield and more boreal forest, where you get more conifers, firs, and spruce kind of forest. And then as you go more south, you get more deciduous forest. And Isle Royale is kind of right on the border between those two. And you can actually see it on the island because the island is not directly east-west. It kind of cants to the northeast-southwest direction. And so on the north side of the island, or the northeast, you tend to see more boreal species. There's a lot more balsam fir and a lot less hardwoods. And on the south shore of the island, there tends to be more hardwoods and less conifers. So the recent warming events that we have seen across the globe tend to favor those deciduous species. And so over time, if warming trends continue, we would expect to see boreal species declining and deciduous species increasing. Moose, as I said when I was speaking about moose favor certain vegetation over others. And so with the moose population increasing, that means that they would browse or potentially significantly browse certain species, and other species would then be competitively released, and we'd have increases in some vegetation and decreases in other vegetation.